Welcome to the Leading Conversations podcast, sponsored by the Excel Leadership Network. On each episode, J.D. Pearring will have conversations with church planting pastors and leaders from around the country. You can learn more about how to connect with Excel at the end of this podcast. Let's join J.D. now and listen in on this leading conversation.
It's time for another leading conversation today with the Excel Leadership Network, and I am privileged and proud and excited to have maybe the smartest person I've ever met, and that is the legendary Scott Pearring on with us today. Scott, how you doing?
Good. I doubt that's true, but I'll take it.
No, that's the way it always was, is people would say, yes, Scott's the smartest person I've ever met. And I felt that way until your younger brother, Jake, just decides that he's going to challenge that every shot he gets. So, but hey, tell us your story. I'm looking forward to hearing your story. How did you come to Christ? Tell us about your upbringing. I think I was there for a lot of it, but what happened?
You were so great upbringing. Moved a couple times, right? You started a church in Colorado, then the Bay Area, then Sacramento. So I remember those three locations, and was involved in the church from a very young age. I remember set up and takedown when we met in movie theaters and schools and anywhere that we could find a building. So very involved in youth group, Sunday school, was one of the leaders, helped for youth group a lot, helped with the slides and the skits and some of the production stuff for Sunday morning. And accepted Jesus at an early age, probably 7 or 8. Not sure exactly, but around then, and then got more serious about faith in high school through some summer camps, and then ultimately at UCLA, which I'll share a little bit more about later on. But was always in and around the church and never strayed too far.
You never did that we knew about anyway. Hey, what was the best thing and the worst thing about being a church planter's kid?
Good question. I think the best thing as I look back on it now is the entrepreneurial spirit I learned from you and Mom, and the just kind of can-do attitude, doing hard things, right? It's not easy to plant a church and raise the money and the people. So that attitude continued in me through, starting the business and moving forward. So that's definitely a positive. Hardest thing, maybe the strong opinions and judgment of other leaders and the very high standards. On one hand, it's a blessing that hold yourself to a high standard. On the other hand, it was probably too judgmental in my view, as far as, the music's not right, or this person wasn't as great of a speaker as we hoped for, or, this guy's getting in my way. Just some of that kind of pioneer spirit that was a little brutal, I would say, was impactful.
You're a pretty confident guy. You were telling me the other day about where your confidence comes from.
What part?
Just the part you said that Mom built into you pretty strongly.
Yes. So loving home, and Mom, Lori Pearring, very loving, encouraging, had us thinking that me and my 3 siblings were God's gift to mankind, as far as, being really skilled in whatever we're doing, skits at church or math homework, or being creative and coming up with little science experiments. So that was helpful. Looking back, I didn't, besides a few puberty, tough high school years, I didn't question my worth or purpose much at all.
Yeah, I'm not going to ask you about your dating life that started way earlier than it should have. Let's just go to that. So talk about what happened with you at UCLA. You said you want to mention some stuff there.
Yeah, so faith-wise, I'm not sure that I've shared this with you. I got involved with Campus Crusade very early and was there. I was involved with that circle and then the Ultimate Frisbee circle, and a pretty good kid. I didn't have a lot of desire to drink or party or do crazy things. But I started to fall away from Crusade. It was just less important. There was other competing priorities. And I remember this was like my little faith test. It was a Thursday night. I was in Westwood and I was planning to go to Real Life, which was Campus Crusade's weekly meeting. And I was debating whether I was going to go or not. And it was this like moment where it's, am I going to go? Am I not? I wasn't really feeling it. I didn't have that many friends there. I, was having some faith questions and reading some books on atheism and all these people kind of breaking away from their faith after having similar upbringings to me. And so I'm in Westwood. I just finished at the Starbucks there tutoring someone, my little side job. And I wasn't going to go. I made up my mind, okay, I'm not going to Real Life tonight. And who knows what I was going to do, but I wasn't going there. And then I was going to walk back past the Starbucks, and there was this girl outside that was talking to a homeless guy. Okay. And I was very interested in that because with Crusade, I've done some homeless ministry. And it was this little Asian girl who caught my eye, who's talking to this homeless guy and riding a longboard, which was totally what I did. So I was like, whoa, this is interesting. So I talked to her. Her name was Paula. And then we got into a great conversation. And turns out she's a really strong believer. And she had some prophecy gifts. And she introduced me to a couple of friends. And we were talking about faith things. And she was a great listener. And it was just a really cool moment where I felt like God brought me into the fold. I felt like this was a tipping point where I was either going to go left or go right. And he kind of like brought me back home through the encouragement of a local believer. And it was funny, a cute Asian girl who's riding a longboard who he knew would catch my eye, that like brought me in. So I don't know how bad or dark it would have gone if I would have turned left instead of right, but I really felt known and loved and, like God saw me there and said, hey, here's what I have for you.
Wow, I did not know that story. That's cool. The Asian girl on a longboard.
Yeah.
That's how you get Scott's attention.
I guess so. And God knew it. And, he pulled me back. And then after that, that was the end of a lot of my questioning.
Hey, can I ask you this question? You decided, I think it was after the first year, that you were not going to stay at school during the summer breaks because you wanted to be home and you wanted to serve your brother, Jake. Can you talk about that? What was that about?
Yeah, good memory. I haven't thought about that in a while. So Jake's 4 years younger. I think he looked up to me in some ways. He played tennis at high school and was involved in similar clubs as me. So I think I felt a little bad going to UCLA, moving, 400 miles south after both my older siblings stuck around at Sac State. So I still had the relationship with them. I chose to move. So I think it was important for me to keep investing in Jake through his high school years when he was discovering himself, and just be supportive and kind of still live some of the home life dream, going to beaches and hanging out and not having responsibilities or an internship or anything like that. So that's what brought me back probably several of those years.
That made an incredible impact on Jake. And I think for us too, it's like, here's this guy, college kid who's just being a real servant. So that was really cool. Now, there was a time where Mom and I were in full-time ministry, your parents are in full-time ministry, your brother's pastor in the church, your sister's a missionary in China, Jake's on staff with Campus Crusade, and you're not. We said, you're the guy that's going to make the money to support us all. Talk about your calling to into the financial world. What was that about?
So I had no idea what I was going to do until my junior year at UCLA. I came in undeclared, then I decided statistics, and I thought, what am I going to go, accounting or actuarial? And then actually you introduced me to Dave Bennett, part of the Excel Leadership Network. And Dave brought me in for an internship with his financial planning firm. So it's the first time I ever learned about financial planning. And I remember it sitting at an Olive Garden in Roseville with him, hearing about his business, thinking, wow, this is incredible. I mean, it can be independent on your own terms. You're helping people, you're making a good amount of money. You can give to kingdom causes. Like, I was really, really interested. So that was in 2009 and at my junior year of UCLA. And then I was all in after that. Never looked back, launched the business the next year, right when I graduated, launched Seek First, the name of my small company. And yeah, it's been solid. So I just feel so blessed to have been connected with Dave, and that he took the time to mentor me and bring me up and coach me for several years there when I was getting started.
What was launching a business like for you?
Slow and hard. So when I started the first year, I made $6,000 and I spent $26,000. Okay. The next year I made $8,000. I spent like $32,000. So Sue and I are living in a 1-bedroom apartment, 440 square feet in Santa Monica. She's working for the county, making 58 grand. You know, we're driving beaters of cars. And I remember looking at her bank account, you know, going down, 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 down. And she's like, when is this going to turn around? Like, you're the finance guy, right? How much longer are you going to invest in this? Because it was just bleeding cash and I was trying everything. And I had all these audacious goals of year 1, year 2, year 3, but it was just way, way slower than I expected. So I look back fondly on that now, but there were some tough times where I thought we had like a ripcord decision where it's like, hey, if the bank account gets down to this level, I'm going to go deliver pizza, or I'm going to like be a waiter or something, because it was getting pretty tight there.
Well, what happened? What changed? What turned things around?
I think God was generous. It's something about, you know, sowing the seeds and hopefully lessons of perseverance. It was year 3. I became Dave Ramsey's endorsed local provider in Santa Monica. And I was invited to many churches through the Dave Ramsey Financial Peace University class to come in and speak on retirement and college planning. So over the next 4 to 5 years, I spoke in over 140 classes all throughout SoCal, and picked up a lot of clients who wanted help from that. So that was really the tipping point where I went from 0. I mean, I think at the time, you know, you guys were a client, grandma was a client, but that was about it. I went from having, you know, a couple clients up to having several hundred in a matter of years.
I remember those days. You were speaking at a church like almost every other night or something. Did you enjoy that?
I loved it. Yeah, driving up and down from Orange County and even some San Diego, and big churches, small churches, just coming out, talking to 5 people or 150 people and offering to be of help. And a lot of people wanted the help. So that was very effective.
Now, at one point you came to me and said, Dad, I got this opportunity to hire a coach for just crazy money. Talk about that particular situation. I thought you were just a little I thought you were nuts, actually. So to talk about that coaching that you got in, because that really took things to another level for you.
It did. And I got involved with Bill Backrack is the name of the coach. He coaches financial advisors out of La Jolla. And right when I started, Dave Bennett introduced me to Bill and he'd said, you know, work with him. He'll teach you the process and the mindset. So I did a quick program with Bill, and then Bill gave me the full pitch where, hey, do you want the 4-year program for, you know, multiple 6 figures of an investment to get trained in this? And I talked to Sue. I tried to make it work financially. And right when we could do it, I signed on. So I think, to me, I saw the vision. I saw that this could really take me to the next level. I saw the other advisors that were part of that cohort and really thought, hey, if they can do it, I can do it. You know, if Jim or Judy or Dan or Steve can have this level of success, you know, I think I have the raw material if I can put it together and be disciplined. And it was huge. So that's when the business not only got off the ground, but really got to the next level and the next level, and hiring more employees and team members and upscaling. So yeah, very good decision. Was tough financially for a while, but was totally worth it.
Yeah, well, give us a pitch on coaching, because you kind of downplayed how much that cost. It was, I guess it was more expensive than an MBA at USC. Is that true?
Yes. That's what, Bill giving us the pitch, he'd compare it to that. You want to spend 200 grand on this? You're going to spend 240 grand on me. And look, I can look where you'll be. So I'm just all in on coaching. I think I always have been. I've always had that spirit. I'm a connector, creative pioneer on the 5 voices. So love to connect, love to create, and love to win, to pioneer. So it's always easy for me to see my gaps, my deficiencies, which is why coaching is such a no-brainer, because it's like, I see this gap. I don't know how on my own accord I'm going to close that gap. So it's easy to surround myself with, people who are further down the road than me, more successful and older and wiser, to help me strategize to close that gap. And it's really worked. And for me, coaching is fun. I look forward to the weekly calls. There's a level of accountability. It's encouraging. It's exciting. I'm also an extrovert, so it's fun to get on the phone with them and toss some ideas around. So I've never looked back, and I can't recommend coaching highly enough. Finding someone you can jive with and setting up regular accountability calls has made a huge impact for me.
$240,000.
And our net worth at the time was, like $26,000, and I'm signing this contract. We didn't have a house, we didn't have much in savings, and I inked it. It was a faith decision.
But there was an immediate result too, wasn't there?
Immediate result, and it was totally seeing other people and thinking. One of my favorite verses is this goes to the pioneer spirit of thinking, hey, if he can do it, I can do it. It's the verse from David, who is this unclean Philistine that he should defy the armies of the living God? Right. So I kind of think of that like, who is Dan or Mark or Bill to have this success when, I have God on my side. And if this is God's plan, I'm not positive this is God's plan for me, but if this is God's plan for me to have this business and be able to bless others, like, it's going to happen. It's going to happen for Mark. It's going to happen for me. So I guess I always had that faith.
Who is this unclean Philistine? Love it. Hey, I was encouraged to ask you this question. How can I make enough money to be able to become one of your clients? You're working with the high-end clients.
I don't know. I mean, if God went to bless this business, I don't think I would have enough to qualify. Coaching is a big part of that. And then being the tortoise, not the hare, just one step in front of the other, making progress. I find being in successful groups really helps me, being around peers. One of my coaching colleagues has this line that he says, as I get older, I pay more and more money to be in smaller and smaller groups. So this guy's convinced, as am I, that it's worth the investment to enroll in these coaching type programs where you're with other like-minded, successful business owners or ministry leaders, especially folks who are further down the road from you, where you can see, wow, if he can do it, I can do it. Like, I still have it's a very small business. One of my colleagues in my program, he has this digital marketing business that makes $33 million a year. And this guy's like my age, lives in Florida. So I'm looking at this, I'm like, how the heck did you build this to 33 million a year? It just totally blew my mind, because that's so unusual. But seeing that it's possible, opens that light, that crevice in my mind where it's like, wow, if Tyler can do this, I can do this. And whatever God has for me on the growth scale, it's all possible.
Wow, that's really encouraging. And you're not necessarily a financial planner anymore. You do. Tell us just a little bit about how you do your business.
It's mostly financial therapy now, is what I call it. So we help people who are struggling with any significant financial issue. So people come to us when there's a retirement question or a tax question, or they're moving, or they're trying to figure out Social Security or Medicare, or update their will or trust. So any financial issue they're facing, we have folks on our team that specialize in that. So I have the initial complimentary 1-hour meeting with them, and then I can point them in the right direction. So we see all sorts of story, which is pretty cool. It's not just, while we do more work for folks that are better off, we also help plenty of, middle-class, ordinary couples as well, right? They're just trying to kind of get retirement on track. They're trying to make their taxes more efficient. So it's nice to be able to help a broader swath of the population.
Okay, and you work primarily with believers?
Yes. Yep. Our client community is about 75% Christians. We have a couple Jewish, a couple Buddhists, a couple others in there, but it's mostly believers.
And you're trying to help believers do a better job with their money and solving problems. So
exactly.
What advice would you give us financially? What are some things that like most people miss?
Good question. So having a coach is one. Having clarity on your goals is two. So most people do not have a clear vision for their future. They've had many conversations with their spouse over breakfast or coffee about when are we going to retire and where are we going to live and are we going to pay off the house or not. But most people do not have a clear, let alone compelling vision on what they want their future to look like. So they can't have a plan to get there because they're not clear on that. So my encouragement would be, meet with someone who can maybe coach you and help you clarify what that vision for your future should look like. So that's the biggest thing. And then kind of the nuts and bolts behind that are spending. Most people have no idea how much they spend every month. And it's a chore to sort through, 300 transactions to get to a bottom line number. So that's something a professional or software can help with. And lastly, not being on the same page with their spouse is something we see like almost every day, different priorities, perspectives, goals, different mentalities. So a coach can certainly help that kind of level set and align both spouses.
Now, you had told me that you kind of miss being speaking in all the different churches that you were in, and you're thinking about maybe wanting to get into churches again.
Yeah, that's just, I feel like some of my unique ability. I love that, to help believers make better decisions. So the name of my business is Seek First, after Matthew, of course, seek first the kingdom. Our mission is to unlock abundance. So we believe Jesus calls us to an abundant life, and we believe there's an abundance of peace of mind and freedom and time and resources out there if you can unlock it. If you don't, the enemy runs rampant in the financial world as far as anxiety and worry and fear, and a lot of people are stuck there. So this vision of helping lots of believers unlock abundance so they can live a more impactful faith-based life is really exciting to me, and I'm exploring different ways of speaking to kind of get that message out there and see who it resonates with.
So if a church wanted like an outsider like you to come in and just do a talk on finances, how do they get a hold of you?
Yeah, just reach out to me through my email or the website, seekfirstinc.com, inc.com. Happy to do that. Short talk, whatever. If there's an agenda, if they're doing a giving campaign or they want some talk on stewardship, happy to align it that way too. Or just overall helping folks kind of get on track financially. We know, I heard the stat, 83% of Americans have financial anxiety. That was a Capital One stat like 2 years ago. 83% of Americans have some type of financial anxiety in their life. So like the message is relevant because we all, myself included, deal with financial concerns and worries and questions. So happy to help if that would be relevant.
So you grew up the son of a church planting couple and realized the financial anxiety is something we need to just get rid of because you saw a lot of it growing up.
I saw a lot of it. The average American has a lot of it with credit card debts. It's just, it's an issue and it's getting worse. And there aren't always clear solutions, or people don't always know who to trust and where to go. So, yeah.
Well, that's really cool that you're doing that, and you've helped us. You've helped us a lot. We don't make a financial decision without calling Scott and saying, "Hey, should I buy the Diet Mountain Dew or the Mountain Dew Zero? Which should I get?" Hey, last question. What's a leadership tip? What leadership tip? You talking about coaching, talking about some other stuff. What's a leadership tip you would give leaders out there?
Well, I'll tell you what I'm dealing with now myself, and maybe it's relevant for others, is managing my own, what we call leadership anxiety. There's a book, maybe some folks have heard about it, Managing Leadership Anxiety by Stephen Cuss. He's a pastor. So in the last 6 months, I've noticed some of the anxiety within me, similar to some giant tools on self-preservations and what are you trying to hide and what are you trying to prove. So I've noticed that swell up in me. And it's funny because I would never consider myself anxious. I'm not socially anxious. I'm not depressed. But I realized I have a good amount of like leadership anxiety, like wanting the meeting to be perfect. There's perfectionism rolled into that. There's like control. So my encouragement would be to explore that and see if that is relevant. If you're experiencing something like that, there's great solutions out there on, getting clear on your identity and bringing it back to who you are and kind of trusting God for the outcome. So that's been a current topic I've been wrestling with and have seen some cool fruit from that, kind of starting to break some of the chains that were below the surface that I wasn't aware of on the anxiety side.
Wow, that's really cool. I'm going to check that out. Well, thank you for being here. Thank you for not saying anything too bad about me. That was part of our agreement.
Yeah, no, I love Excel. I love the work you guys are doing. Even though it was hard for me to start my business, when I hear other church planners, I'm like, wow, I'm glad I don't have that job, because that is harder than what I do. It pays less. It's more stressful. You got more attacks. So, I'm happy to be a lay leader and cheer you on from the sidelines.
Wow. If you want any dirt on us, seekfirstinc.com. And I told you, he's like the smartest person I ever met. So thank you for being here, Scott. Appreciate it. Love you.
I love you too. Great to see you.
Thanks for joining the Leading Conversations podcast. We hope that you found it both helpful and encouraging. At Excel Leadership Network, our focus is on the church planter rather than the church. If you'd like to find out more about us, visit our webpage at excelnetwork.org. Don't forget to subscribe to this podcast so you don't miss any future episodes. See you next time with another Leading Conversation.